Discipline is the bridge between desire and fortune. They tell you to dream big. They tell you to want more. They tell you to visualize success, to imagine the house, the freedom, the power, the life. But what they rarely tell you is this: desire without discipline is hallucination. Every graveyard is full of people who wanted more. Every failure once had a dream. Every regret began as a desire that was never trained, never controlled, never sharpened into action. Desire is cheap. Everyone has it. But discipline is rare. Discipline is uncomfortable. Discipline is lonely. Discipline is the bridge most people refuse to cross. And that is why most people never reach fortune. Not just money, but freedom, mastery, self-respect, and peace. You don't fail because you want too little. You fail because you do too little consistently. Napoleon Hill warned about this a century ago. He didn't say success comes to the lucky, the gifted, or the privileged. He said it comes to the decided. To the person who chooses a purpose and disciplines their mind, habits, and actions around it. Every day, whether they feel like it or not. Look at Edison. Thousands of failures. Not because he lacked intelligence, but because he possessed something rarer: the discipline to stay in the lab when quitting made more sense. Look at Carnegie, a poor immigrant who didn't just dream of wealth. He disciplined his thinking, his associations, his decisions. Look at Lincoln, defeated again and again, disciplined enough to keep standing when the world kept knocking him down. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in action. And here is the truth most people avoid. Your life right now is a perfect reflection of your daily discipline. Not your intentions, not your potential, not your excuses. Your discipline. If you wake up without direction, your life drifts. If you act without structure, your talent decays. If you think without control, your mind becomes your enemy. The undisciplined mind chases comfort and calls it happiness. The disciplined mind chooses growth and earns fulfillment. This is where the separation happens. Because discipline begins in the mind, not the calendar, not the gym, not the bank account. It begins the moment you decide that how you feel no longer controls what you do. Most people wait for motivation. Disciplined people move without it. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is spiritual. Motivation rises and falls. Discipline stays. When Hill spoke of definiteness of purpose, he wasn't talking about vague wishes. He meant a burning desire so focused that it organizes your behavior automatically. When your purpose is clear, discipline stops feeling like force. It becomes alignment. You don't need more time. You need fewer distractions. You don't need more confidence. You need more kept promises to yourself. Every time you say, "I'll start tomorrow," you weaken your self-trust. Every time you do the hard thing now, you strengthen your identity. And identity is everything. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your discipline. The world is filled with talented people living average lives because they never learned to command themselves. They let moods dictate action. They let fear negotiate decisions. They let comfort override destiny. But fortune, real fortune, only responds to authority. And authority begins with self-mastery. This is why discipline feels heavy at first. Because you are breaking an old contract. The contract where impulse was in control. Your mind will resist. Your habits will protest. Your environment will test you. And that resistance is proof you are finally moving in the right direction. Discipline is waking up when it's dark and your bed feels warm. It's working when no one is watching. It's saying no to what feels good now for what will feel powerful later. This is not about perfection. It's about consistency under pressure. Because pressure reveals truth. When life squeezes you, do excuses come out, or execution? Hill wrote that every adversity carries the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But only the disciplined mind has the patience to extract that seed. The undisciplined mind panics, complains, blames, quits. And quitting is expensive. It costs you your future. Discipline is how you tell the universe you are serious. It is the daily vote you cast for the person you are becoming. And once you cross that bridge, once discipline becomes your default, desire stops being painful. It stops teasing you. It stops haunting you at night. Because desire finally has a path. And fortune begins to recognize you. Because belief without discipline is fragile. It cracks the moment resistance appears. Most people say they believe in themselves, but belief is not a statement. It is a behavior. True belief shows up when the alarm rings and no one is watching. It shows up when the results are delayed and doubt is loud. It shows up when quitting would bring relief, but continuing builds identity. Your subconscious does not listen to your words. It listens to your patterns. This is why discipline rewires belief. Every disciplined action sends a signal deep into the mind. I am reliable. I am capable. I finish what I start. Over time, that signal becomes a self-image. And self-image is the thermostat of your life. You do not rise above it for long, and you do not fall below it accidentally. Napoleon Hill understood this with surgical precision. He taught that the mind can be conditioned through repetition, emotion, and action. Discipline is the delivery system. Without it, affirmations are noise. Visualization is fantasy. Desire becomes frustration. But with discipline, the mind begins to obey. You start to think differently, not because you forced positive thoughts, but because your behavior earned new conclusions. Confidence stops being something you chase. It becomes something you recognize. This is where clarity sharpens. Most people are vague about their goals because vagueness protects them from accountability. If the target is unclear, failure can always be explained away. Discipline demands clarity because discipline works best with precision. A definite purpose is not poetic. It is practical. It tells you what to say no to. It filters distractions. It organizes energy. When Henry Ford decided to build an affordable car for the masses, he did not wait for permission from reality. He disciplined his focus so intensely that obstacles bent under repetition. Engineers told him it was impossible. He didn't argue. He returned to work. That is discipline, refusing to negotiate with doubt. Clarity removes drama. When your purpose is clear, emotions lose authority. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" and start asking, "Does this serve the mission?" And once the mission is defined, vision emerges. Vision is not imagination, it is anticipation. It is seeing the future as inevitable because your daily actions are aligned with it. This is why disciplined people move with quiet confidence. They are not guessing. They are building. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. What history forgets is not his creativity, but his discipline. Years of rejection, bankruptcy, failure. And still, every morning, he returned to the work. Vision without discipline would have made him a dreamer. Discipline made him a creator. Purpose, when disciplined, becomes power. But power must be directed. This is where most people collapse, at the point of sustained action. They can start strong, but they cannot stay steady. They sprint emotionally, then disappear. They mistake intensity for commitment. Discipline is not loud. It is relentless. It is doing the small things so well, so often, that they compound into dominance. The world celebrates outcomes, but ignores processes. Yet fortune is not impressed by ambition. It responds to systems, daily rituals, standards, non-negotiables. When you build discipline into your environment, your willpower stops bleeding. You stop relying on strength and start relying on structure. You plan ahead for weakness. You design your life so progress is the default. This is maturity. Because discipline is not about control, it is about freedom. The freedom to choose your future instead of reacting to the present. The freedom to say no to chaos. The freedom to delay gratification without resentment. Gratitude plays a role here too, not as softness, but as grounding. Gratitude reminds you that discipline is a privilege, that the ability to work, to focus, to strive is not guaranteed. It keeps hunger alive without turning it into bitterness. And bitterness is dangerous. It poisons discipline. The disciplined mind stays adaptable. It does not cling to methods, only to principles. When plans break, it adjusts without drama. When failure appears, it studies it instead of internalizing it. This is resilience. Resilience is discipline under pain. Lincoln lost elections, businesses, loved ones. Yet he disciplined his faith in the cause. Not blind optimism, but grounded resolve. He understood that storms do not cancel destinations. They test commitment. Every setback you face is asking you a question. Are you disciplined enough to continue without reassurance? Most people are not. They require applause to proceed, validation to persist, guarantees to act. But discipline does not need guarantees. It only needs direction. And once you internalize this, something profound happens. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop bargaining with fear. You stop explaining yourself. You move. And movement changes everything.